Come on, man.
Hey guys.
It's just a pint.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Here at the Swamp, get ready to beat LSU. Y'all tune in to Rule Number 1 podcast on Monday.
Oh my God, partner. Welcome in to the Rule 1 podcast on the hottest day in Florida history.
Yeah, it was a hot one today for sure. Brian and I were just talking earlier. He was like, man, he goes, I melted the bottom of my shoes off. And I was like, dude, now you understand what I do every day. Like I got home today and I'm dripping in sweat, this and that. Like it's an everyday occurrence. And Brian's like, dude, it was hot. And I was like, it's hot every day, Brian.
Yeah, but today was like a different kind of hot. Today was like, I was telling you earlier, I was like, it made me believe, I won't say in global warming, but like the planet is changing in my eyes, right in front of us. It's getting hotter every day and getting colder somewhere else every day.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, we don't have a guest this episode.
Yeah, we got our furry friend though.
Yeah, we got our. This is my dog Char. Y'all have never met Char. Char likes to rip cords out of the soundboard, so we try to keep him out of here. But he's a mascot and he's gonna hang out with us for a little bit. But yeah, so we don't have a guest this episode, and we're kind of just rolling with it. We wanted to talk about a couple things, and sounds like we're going to get into some conspiracy theories already.
Yeah, well, I had a friend last night reach out to me, and I'm not kidding. I'll show you the text. I'll blur out the name. But he said, man, you're the only person that's going to believe in me. I said, what? He said, I saw a UFO tonight.
Again.
Yes, but it wasn't me. It was the other guy. Like, he reached out to me. He's like, man, I saw a UFO tonight. And I was like, oh, my God, what did it look like? Like, what did it look like? And he told me it was like an orange, I don't know, orb in the sky with no blinking lights that would signify it's a plane. Like, and there wasn't no like rocket trail either. Like you would see SpaceX from Cape Canaveral here shooting something up. And I thought that was so interesting because yes, I'm a kook. I've had a UFO experience. I'm not saying what it could be. It was just an unidentified flying object. Like I couldn't identify it, but it was like 8 lined up balls of light in the sky, right? Nothing else. It was just 8 in a row. And the next thing you know, gone, out of here. And I was curious, and I was like, man, where'd you see it at? And he said, I saw it right here in where we record in Alturas, Central Florida. And, this is a rural area, right? And I got to thinking, man, I was like, gosh, if you were, let's just say not even an alien species, okay? Let's just say the government has something cool lined up in the back door of Hangar 9 and whatever classified bunker, right? Where would you test it at? Like, where would you test it at?
Man, I'm going to the desert.
Yeah, but see, I get that too, but like there's a lot of people out there with high credentials that are going out in the night sky looking in the desert for this stuff, right? They can't be discredited. Now, if you look at the demographic of Polk County, and, it's not the best.
I take that back. I would say probably Alaska,
yeah?
honestly.
Yeah?
Because there's the amount of people per I can't remember the ratio, but it's like the percentage of people per square acre is like extremely, extremely low. Yeah. I can see the only thing they have to worry about if they crash, it's in a mountain nobody ever knows.
We gotta get there first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
And then the only way to get around is like these little bush planes, like these little side-by planes. So imagine like you're sitting there on vacation and you're watching the Northern Lights or whatever, and then all of a sudden, oh, here comes a flash of light. Oh, it's nothing. It's actually, they're just test flying a UFO or something.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's crazy because
talk about the government real quick, how they did confirm that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's just a ploy to hide something up that they're doing, in the background of things, but the United States government held a congressional hearing with 3 witnesses. I'm going to say this. If you are caught lying in a congressional hearing, that is perjury, which means you are going to jail. Yeah. So these 3 men believe in their stories so much, and I'm not going to lie, I believe in a couple of them too. One's a David Fravor, former Navy pilot, saw his video or saw his UFO out in the Gulf of California, I believe. And
these videos are out for the public to see too. Every single one of the experiences have been caught on camera.
Yeah. And well, I thought it was interesting because, like the United States military has like all this high tech technology, right? Well, all these videos are so blurry, like you really can't tell what's going on. But, there's a rash explanation for this. David Fravor says the video's blurry because we don't want our enemies to see how good of technology we have when it comes to tracking objects or seeing objects in the sky. He's like, you're going to get the lowest res video and the lowest, whatever quality to, show that, we're not going to give all of our, hands out in the game. But there's three, like he had a sighting. The other guy was David Gersh. David Gersh claims to be a former national security agent, I believe. And he's came out and he's had some crazy claims. UFO the size of a football field. He said he's talked to all these people that are involved in a UFO crash retrieval program. Now, let's take a second and actually think about that. A UFO crash retrieval program. Like, you really think that the United States government could hide something like that?
I honestly think like the whole Area 51, now that it's so exposed, doesn't have much in there.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And, but I do think there was one point in time where like listen guys, and I am not a conspiracy theorist at all. Brian is 10 times more than I am. But think about this. We have several branches in the military. We have Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force.
Space Force.
I'm getting there. Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. I feel like I'm missing one. And
National Guard, maybe?
No, that's part of Army.
Okay.
But and then Space Force is the sixth one. But why is there a branch of the military designated for objects and things coming from outer space? Like a whole branch of the military, basically, quote unquote, astronauts, if things aren't out there.
Funding, like there's billions upon billions of dollars going into this thing.
Like your tax dollars are made to protect from foreign things coming to this planet.
That's crazy. Yeah. And the fact that, these three men went in front of Congress and had this hearing with them and made all their claims, dude, it is crazy to think that we're not alone. Let me rephrase that. It is crazy to think that we're not alone. Like there are millions of galaxies. One of my favorite expressions is, our galaxy is a piece or a grain of sand on a whole beach. You're telling me this shit can't happen somewhere else?
For
like,
real.
You can tell me that a civilization couldn't develop, 100,000 years before us. Think about how advanced they would be. Think about how advanced we are now, man. We got a Mac there, a laptop there, connected to that phone there, recording sound on this thing. That's all going to go together and put on a video. Meanwhile, we have a TV there that shows cool graphics too. Like, if somebody was 100,000 years ahead of us, sci-fi, it's not fiction, man. You got to think about all the developments and all the thought processes that change throughout time that lead to technology.
Yeah.
And if somebody was that far ahead of us, no wonder they could come and visit us. They probably think we're a bunch of primal apes that just throw bullets around at each other. Like, I'd probably keep my distance too from this planet and study us a little bit.
Yeah, from a Christian standpoint too. Like if you look at some of the Bible verses, it says God created the heavens and the earth and all that's within them.
Yes.
And so if you look at it, if he's they say God is, he created time, so he's not involved in time. And so if he's like he always has been and always will be, and it's hard to wrap your mind around it because we live in this concept of time. And so he wouldn't have created something that he already dwells in, which people say is like heaven or whatever. And so the thought behind it is the heavens, meaning the stars, the moon, everything out there, and everything above us, because we have this natural concept of the heavens is above us and the hell is down.
Yeah.
And so think about all the stuff out there that he created, the heavens and the earth. And people say all the time where like, I wish I had this answer and this and that. And it's like, well, it doesn't involve you. God gave you these things in the Bible to focus on purposely.
Yes.
And so he didn't need to put in every single detail. So I feel like there is, like, even if there is other life out there, which it seems like to be,
blunt. Yes.
Yeah. It seems like the government has confirmed it and everything like that. So if there is other life there, it is very selfish of us to think that he only created us on Earth, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of galaxies out there, like the heavens, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
My favorite response to that, because I've used that when I've talked to aliens with Christian believers. I'm a Christian, like
you've talked to aliens.
No, like I'm talking about.
I get you. I'm just joking with
Christians, and my favorite response to that is, well, God didn't mean it like that. How the hell are you going to know what God means, dog? Like, how are you going to tell me that you know what God meant by writing that down? There's all kinds of stuff in the Bible that it's figuratively and it's not literal. Like, there's all kinds of stuff throughout the text, and you don't know what God's thinking.
Yeah, it's different interpretation. That's why you get different denominations and things like that. But I feel like, and I was just talking to my buddy about this, and I said I would say I'm non-denominational as a Christian, and so I don't want to be sectionalized as, like, say, necessarily Presbyterian or Baptist or Methodist or whatever, because I personally focus on there's three things in the whole entire world you got to focus on if you, as a Christian, is that Jesus had to come die for your sins, Jesus died for your sins, and Jesus rose again. And so that's a big thing, and if you know those three things, you can go to heaven and truly believe them. And so my thing is, why are we all so caught up in all the other stuff? Just focus on that, and the other part's just kind of a guide, man. Like,
another good point I bring up to the Bible too, like with this topic, is people always, like, in the Bible it says God has a purpose. You know, you never know what he's like. You know, it's never clear what his purpose is. What if he created these other beings, right, for a purpose for us that we have no idea yet? Like, what if, like, 20 years from now there's an asteroid hurling at Earth, because, you know, there's millions of those out there, and maybe their purpose is to save us that day. You know, maybe that's why they were, like, made. That's why God has them out there for us. But it is so crazy to think about. We're in a time that, you know, is social justice is at its all-time high with people. You know, you can do whatever you want, right? You go back 50 years, that's not the case. All right? Aliens. The government has came out and said, like, hey, they are real. Non-biological entities were found at crash sites of these UFOs. Like, non-biological from Earth, right? And 50 years ago, if you go do that, you're a nut job. You are a wacko. The government is going to say, this guy is off his rocker. But now look at it, dude. We are going through so much immense change in the last 20 to 15 years. Imagine what the next 20 is going to be like, right? Imagine what's coming for us now. It's mind-boggling. You never know.
Yeah, seeing pictures. I was actually just scrolling through, like, a photo album of my family. There was a couple different pictures or whatever. It was some event, and it was like there was the big box TVs in the background, and and like the whole styles have changed, and the pictures are, you know, practically the you know, this disposable camera type stuff and everything like that. And it's like, listen, this was when I was like 8, 9 years old. I'm 23 now. Like, that is not that long.
Yeah.
And so, and for now, I mean, me as a photographer, I'm taking pictures and I'm messing with pixelations. I can literally go on my computer and take a picture of a pasture and AI a cow into the pasture. Yeah. And it's like,
well, that video that you sent me on Instagram the other day of how you have, like, a horizontal camera set, like kind of like we do.
Yeah.
And, like, you're, like, trying to make it into a full screen size reel.
Yeah.
Like,
it's AI, because your ratio, to explain that to people. So whenever you take a side picture, like, say,
landscape.
for instance, say landscape. So say you just take a picture with a normal camera like this, you know, how you would normally look through it. Whenever you try to convert it into a reel, the sizing is a 16:9. And so your aspect ratio is completely different. So basically, whenever you try to make a horizontal picture or video into a 16:9, it compresses the file, and you have to zoom in way too much. Yeah. And it makes it blurry and crappy and everything. So continue.
And it would take the, you know, that landscape video, and it would create settings based off of what it sees around. The AI would. Like, that's crazy. And the guy showed a picture, I think, at the end of his video of, like, his actual setup, and it was spot on. Yeah. It was spot on. And we have created that. Humanity has created that. And my next thing is the superconductor. I don't know if you've heard about that. Like that. Okay. So a superconductor is like this big, huge battery, right? That has, you know, it can do immense power. It can hold immense power. But the problem has been you've had to keep these big superconductors really cold so they don't have excess heat like, phone batteries do when they charge. It's like off-put heat. And you have to keep them, they're really big. You have to keep them contained in one big area. Well, now, I think it was a Korean group. They've created the first room temp and, pressure. You have to have immense amount of pressure on it to make it work.
So like a vacuum kind of?
Yeah. And now this group of scientists have came up with a superconductor that's literally looks like those speakers that you plug on the wall, like the TikTok viral things. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about how it can be used at room temperature and used at atmospheric pressure. I think it was some weird word like that. And it means pretty much you can use it on the surface, right? The technology advancement in that, it could power the whole world. Like if you had 3 or 4 of those in I think it was like a big city the size of like Tampa or something like that, it would power it without having, the output or the, I guess byproduct of how we use electricity today, the hot wires, possible flames and stuff happening. Like it could power the whole city of Tampa completely safe and cut energy costs like way down, like almost to where it's free. Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen with that technology? Think about that. You could power the whole city of Tampa or Lakeland, hell, maybe even the state of Florida with like 5 or 6, 10 of them. Like, imagine where that's going to lead us in a technological advancement going forward. Yes, I do want your opinion.
Chowboy's on the move.
I know, he's tired of hearing of our nut job conspiracy theories.
Honestly, do I think it will ever happen? No. Because if you look at the world today, they look at everything from an economic standpoint. And so if
that is true.
Say you got one of your little battery deals that can power, whatever. I don't know anything about them.
Superconductor.
So yeah, whatever. Iron Man stuff. And so say they have that, okay, and it could power a whole city. That will put thousands of people out of jobs.
Yes and no. Yes and no, because it might immediately put you out of job when this new company that's opening up puts this superconductor in. But who is that company going to hire to run those new power lines and run that new equipment to the city to make it, you're going to hire somebody that has
so you don't need power lines, or you have to have power lines.
I mean, it's more of like I saw an AI generated image of it. So technically there is power lines, but it looked more futuristic, maybe AI crap. But like the way you'd use it, there would be no like heat offput from conducting electricity through it.
Okay, so that would be the thing
safer.
to find out.
It'd be a whole of a lot safer.
What I understood was you'd have it basically on the wall and whatever, and it would just power everything through electronic magnets or whatever. And I was like, that would destroy an economy.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I mean, because if they put one of those in every single city in America, think about all those, big, huge corporations down the drain. And I don't... What do you mean?
They'll figure out dude, those guys or
bankrupt,
corporate,
period.
Those corporate big cats, they'll figure out a way to get on the money, dude.
No shot.
Yes.
No shot. That company, you put a power unit like that and say you don't need any linemen, you put it in a room or whatever, and then all of a sudden, sorry, Charles.
No, he's good.
You put that power unit wherever and it can power a whole entire city, doesn't need linemen or anything like that. It will destroy the whole entire company.
Do you think
100%?
Do you think that economics is holding us back as a society in technological advancements?
100%.
Yeah.
Hell, like, so I'm trying to think of this saying. There's I can't think of it.
I can think of 3 industries it's holding us back in.
Well, yeah, medical. Period.
Yep.
Medical's huge.
He's gone again.
Medical's huge. If that were to happen, the electronic industry or the power industry, that would be trashed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one more, and I know there's more out there.
Maybe the fossil fuels industry, the oil game. Maybe that would get ruined by it.
Yeah, big time. Because if you can run a motor off of water, actually that's
been done.
Yeah, but not enough power. Steam engines, period. But The problem is water. What people don't realize is water is it's not a renewable resource.
Yeah.
Fresh water.
No, not fresh water. Not fresh water.
Salt water is.
Yeah.
Well,
it's never ending. You're never going to drain the oceans, dude, unless something cataclysmic happens.
It would take millions and millions and millions of years to drain them. Well, it depends.
I'm saying like something like a meteor hits us or some kind of weird pole shift. That's one.
What do you think would happen if instead of using fossil fuels, we somehow were to get use salt water for like motors and everything? How fast do you think it would be to drain the ocean? Because think about it.
It'd be quick because, I mean, there's like 7 billion people on this planet, and there's a lot of cars out there and a lot of vehicles out there. But, like, at the same time...
Think about how many gallons you put in your truck every week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but also at the same time, we're already doing that with fossil fuels. And our byproduct is ultimately hurting the earth. I'm not a big believer in, like, the climate change. I think it does have an effect on climate. But, like, if you look at the history of the world, or the earth itself, I should say, it's constantly changing, dude. Like, the continents have shifted several times. There's been an ice age. So you got to think this whole planet's been frozen before. And, it's always going up and down in temperature. So, like, I look at it more as, like, all right, the earth's literally changing in front of us. It's become a different environment. It's getting hotter. And, man, I'm not afraid that I'll see it in my lifetime, but I'm afraid that like one day, like it might get too hot here and something wild might happen. Something Mother Nature might do to cool this place off. Ice Age Part 2.
I don't know. I go back and forth on the environment stuff because I know there is a huge thing, like there's a huge issue with it. One, it's the trash, period. I mean, heck.
Byproduct of humanity is terrible.
Yeah, heck, you go kayaking down a river and there's just all you can see is a beer can over there and a Coke can over there and a trash. I mean, everything gets drained into rivers and then they go out to the ocean.
You see that stuff, but I'm thinking of like those huge, like mega dump site landfills for like computer USBs that can't be put anywhere else because they're toxic to humanity. Like stuff like that.
Then you burn it and then all of a sudden you're destroying the ozone, literally. And that's another thing. I'm a very factual guy, and so I'm not going to say anything.
I really wish we had a fact checker here tonight.
Yeah. It is absolutely proven that the ozone layer in our atmosphere is being dissolved in certain areas.
It's getting thinner.
There's like holes in it. Complete holes. Like, I wish Maverick was here. He would pull up a map.
Would.
But there's literally maps because they can track it. Like you can see every layer of it. And there are legitimate holes in all these different areas. You know, one thing that I've noticed and I thought was very interesting.
What's that?
You know where two of the biggest holes are?
I'm going to say right above LA and right above maybe China. Above China?
North Pole and South Pole.
Really? That's wild. That's crazy.
Weird to think about. And I don't know if it's because of the rotation of the Earth that'll spin
it up there.
Yeah,
maybe. And I don't know. That's
but
crazy.
that is too ironic because nobody lives there.
Yeah,
and you kind of wonder why doesn't anybody live there if we can live in the hottest regions, the like rainforest Florida and stuff like that. Like you live in these hot regions, okay? Why can't people live in these cold regions? That's crazy. With the amount of technology we have, why isn't there a country in Antarctica?
The treaty that was signed a long time ago between like 19 different countries pretty much said like, yo, Antarctica's off limits. This is pretty much only a place for scientific research and whatnot, which I get, dude. Like Antarctica was a continent connected. It was connected to Africa at one point. Pangea. You're a believer in that.
I do believe in Pangea, yeah.
Like, dude, there's frozen.
You want to explain? Okay. So Pangea, for anybody that doesn't know, it is basically this idea that all of the continents at one time, not necessarily all of them, but a lot of them were connected all in one. And then there was something happened and then they all split and dispersed, whether that's an earthquake or I personally believe it was a global flood as a Christian. And
like a tectonic shifts with the flood causing the flood, maybe?
Yeah, whether it's big tsunamis. I don't know.
I think it's wild that when I was going with that, like if you go to Antarctica, there's like whole forest frozen in the ground. Like you can literally wipe off the ice and you'll see full grown trees. Like
I want to go.
It's so hard to get permits too, man. I've got on my Google before at like 1 a.m. trying to figure out a way. There's cruises that they offer down there, but you can't get on. Like, you can't get on the continent. But most of the reasons for people to get down there is research, and you have to have like your, you know, this. You have to have your credentials to get down there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's cool that at least the world and the countries all over the world agreed on at least one thing throughout history, not to fuck with Antarctica.
Yeah. Well,
who knows what's down there, though?
yeah, I was about to say, you get that many people to agree on
Something
one
wild's
thing.
got to be happening.
Yeah. If animals can live in Antarctica, people can live in Antarctica.
Yeah. I keep thinking it's crazy. There's not like a polar bear or like a bear species in Antarctica. It's just penguins and like fish.
Are you sure that polar bears don't live in Antarctica?
Yeah, they don't. They're only in the north hemisphere. I'm almost certain about that. We'll have to fact check that.
So what about the North Pole?
That's where I'm saying. Like, that's where they are. That's where the polar bears are. There's just none in Antarctica. The only thing that lives in Antarctica is like wildlife or marine wildlife and penguins, pretty much. There's no like
Interesting.
super predator in Antarctica. Like,
but there is wildlife.
Bear. Yeah. There's marine wildlife and penguins.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
I'm just trying to think, like, what makes Antarctica so much different than the North Pole? Why wouldn't there be some kind of predator or something out there? And why is there a treaty with all these countries saying that they can't go down there? And
maybe there's proof of something like catastrophic happening. Have you ever heard the deGrasse Tyson, Neil deGrasse Tyson, or what is it called? The impact theory. It's the physicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Somebody else came up with that the world was hit with like a huge meteor impact. I think along the lines of 12,000 years ago. Like, right, that's why you see that dark age in humanity between like the thriving ancient civilizations and then like the language and writing and everything going away. That's what they believe happened. There's a huge crater out in the Gulf of Mexico that kind of backs that up.
Wait, go back. So you said thriving civilizations, and then what about this dark period you said?
They think that like their thesis is that the world got hit by a massive asteroid and it literally put everything on its ass. Like it killed off everything. And their theory is like, all right, well, that's what sent us into the Ice Age. Maybe your Pangea theory comes from that. Like, it broke apart by then. But throughout history, there's a dark period for about 2,000 years in humanity where there's no writing, there's no records of anything.
But, like, when was that?
Kind of like after, right around...
That's what I was getting at.
After the Great Roman Empire, you know? Right before you see Christianity start coming into the world, right? They think it's kind of that was a reset period for about 2,000 years for humanity to get back on its tail. I think there's an interesting theory that goes along with that. Think about this. If a meteor hit this planet, right, who's going to survive? The toughest, meanest SOBs out there, right? And you got to believe that has to have something to do with the violence that we see as humans, maybe. Like, if only the toughest survive, I mean, that seems to be the kind of, you know, natural selection, the thing that nature runs on. Wouldn't you kind of see how that might affect people today? How the genes passed on? I know. I think
that's a bit of a stretch.
You don't.
For me. I
could see some stuff like that happening.
Whenever I look at conspiracy theories and stuff like that, I'm a very logical person. And so whenever, like, I have a basis on, you know, my moral code and things that I find completely true. And so whenever I think about these things, it's like, okay, I try to put them in perspective. It's like, okay, so I know this is true in my heart, and I'm go back to the Bible on a lot of things, and I personally think that's factual evidence, but other people would disagree with me, which that's fine. But if I can't, it's hard to put in perspective some of the things where it's like there's blank periods and this and that, because first of all, honestly, like for me, if I'm taking the Bible as a fact, which I have to, or it destroys my whole entire belief system, and it basically gives you a timeline from creation all the way till basically the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Some of the things in the Bible are coming true, like the rivers flooding up in the middle of the desert, coming out of nowhere, stuff like the what was it? The plagues, locusts are taking over, or Las Vegas, all kinds of crazy stuff's going on with that.
And then a lot of the fires too.
Yeah.
They say they talked about in Revelations that there'll be like major wildfires, which I try not to look into that because it also says in the Bible like you'll never no man can ever predict the end of time. Or it's I'm trying to remember the exact Bible verse, but it basically says no one will never know the end unless the Lord's the only person. I'm trying to get the exact
You're paraphrasing.
verse,
I get it.
yeah, but basically God is the only person that will ever be able to know the end of time. And so like basically when everybody's least expecting, it'll happen.
I can see that. I don't know if it's least expecting. There are things that say like, yo, this is the end of the world's soon to happen after these events happen in the Bible. I think the Bible is just such an interesting book. Even if you're not a Christian,
You should read it. Honestly.
I have.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm saying in general.
Oh yeah. Like
Yeah.
the stories in there are really cool. There's some really cool stories in there, and I think it's just a collection of really unique things that happen throughout history that all right, you can learn from this, right?
And there are all these different authors throughout time. And so it's all these different accounts of the same history going through time.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's interesting. There's 30 no, I'm not going to say that because I don't know that for sure. But there's a lot of different authors throughout the whole book, and they all agree on one thing, and all of them are thousands of years apart from each other, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And it all relates back to one specific event. And this is one thing about Jesus that a lot of people don't realize, is that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't believe in God. Well, you're an idiot if you don't believe that Jesus was never somebody that existed.
No, he was a person. It's documented.
It is 100% documented.
He was an alive person. Now, whether you believe he was divine or not, that's where the question comes in.
Exactly. And so that is the thing. And so for all you people out there that, like, if you don't believe in Christianity, which is fine, like, do your deal. But it is 100% recorded that Jesus Christ was a person that was in the time period that the Bible wrote him about, and did a lot of the things that he did in the Bible.
He did enough to convince, I don't even know how many people were on the planet back then. I mean, there was other religions, but it's still, 2000 and I think 20 years later, something along the lines of that, there people still believe in him. Like you got to have something to, back all that up. If you're getting the whole world believe, he's the original influencer.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Like even in the Bible, there's a story in how Moses, he was a prophet, and all the Israelites, which was God's chosen people, were in slavery in Egypt. And basically Moses came in and he was going to deliver them. God told him to deliver his people from slavery and take them away. Yeah. And so Moses comes in. Finally, there was a bunch of plagues that went on the Egyptians. Finally, the Pharaoh says, take them, leave. And so they leave. And then all of a sudden the Egyptians basically say like, oh, no, you're not allowed to leave. Like, we want you back. And so these thousands and thousands and thousands of people are leaving slavery and going, and they get to the Red Sea. And then the Bible says that, God gave the power to Moses and he split the Red Sea in half. And so then the Israelites were able to cross the Red Sea so they can get around and not get captured by the Egyptians. And when the last person crossed, the Red Seas literally tumbled back in and became a normal sea and drowned all these Egyptians that were chasing them. They found...
I was about to say they found chariot wheels.
They found chariot wheels at the bottom of the Red Sea.
Like where there shouldn't be a chariot wheel.
Why would there be chariot wheels in the middle of the Red Sea?
Well, I will say there are I've seen before that there are natural occurrences with the Red Sea that have extreme tides. Okay. Yeah. So, I'm not saying this, maybe God led Moses to there during the lowest tide. Yeah. And that was him
and then all of a
sudden,
sudden,
boom. And that's how it happens, though. Like, there's videos of, these areas around the Red Sea where when that tide changes, it's coming.
And that's the thing. And especially with, conspiracy theories and things like that, I am open to this idea. Like, whenever they say there's extreme tides in the Red Sea, that is a logical way that God, in my opinion, that God could use some of these natural events and natural things happen in a certain way. For instance, a lot of people say about Pangea. I think, honestly, my whole deal about, we've talked about Pangea a lot. I believe that it was a huge water layer over the in the atmosphere, and
like firmament, kind of.
Yeah, basically, like it's a huge like H2O, basically something based, like another layer in the atmosphere. And if you looked pre-flood, according to the Bible, they were men that lived hundreds and hundreds of years old. Like the oldest man that was ever recorded in the Bible, he was 969 years old.
Can you imagine?
And there was multiple accounts of these men living for hundreds of years. And I honestly think that whenever the flood happened, this ozone layer or H2O layer or whatever crashed and flooded the world, and it was on Pangea and it spread the whole thing.
Okay. I can see that. That's an interesting theory. And by the way, everybody at home, these are just theories.
Yeah, these are not factual evidence.
Theoretical.
Yeah.
That means I have an objective opinion of my own to look at this stuff. If I want to say aliens are real, by godly, I'll damn say it. Like, these are all just theories. And it's fun to talk about this stuff. I cannot believe we waited this long to do this because, we've kind of pitched it back and forth. We're not really sure what kind of response we're going to get from it, but it's fun, man. Like, it's just fun to talk about this stuff. But I think that's kind of crazy. Like your belief, and I'm not calling your belief crazy, but like I'm drawing the parallel here because, in the Bible, it says, the world is surrounded by a layer of firmament, right? Firmament is,
I don't remember that part.
We can look it up after, but I'm almost certain. And around outside the firmament is water. That's what it says. Which, if somebody were to crack said firmament somehow, there's going to be a flood. Maybe we're just living in the post period of the firmament, and that's how, NASA and them found the hole in the firmament to go out to space. It's all kind of crazy stuff. They're all theories, but it's fun to talk about. That's one that I've seen before that kind of explains, some of the rocket videos that you see when they get up to a certain height, they hit something and it just sits there and spins until it falls. You ever seen that video? Mm-mm. Oh man, there was this amateur. He was professional in my opinion because I don't know rocket science, but he built like the world's highest shooting homemade rocket. Right, like it was supposed to go to, I believe, the stratosphere, right outside the stratosphere, and re-enter the atmosphere and come back in. It was supposed to go to space. Well, like it gets up to a certain amount of thousands of feet, and it looks like this rocket just hits like a dartboard. Like, how when a dart sticks, it just stops. Like when you throw it, you have a little movement on it, but it just sticks. Well, this rocket this whole time has like a GoPro or something attached to it, and it's going and the spinning, and all of a sudden, boom! It looks like a dart just hits something and just stops, and it's just like barely slowing. They might have gone into outer space, or the guy said it didn't. Might have hit a layer of firmament. You never know. It's kind of crazy to think about. There's all kinds of videos of stuff like that happening.
Yeah, it's wild because you know what? I'm not getting into that one.
Oh, why not?
No. I'm not. That's a whole nother one-on-one.
This is our job, man. We are humans.
No. I was gonna bring out stuff about the media, but I'm not getting into that this episode. That's a whole nother.
Oh, it's all fake.
Yeah,
it's all fake. Yeah. That one video that I saw of like all of the national news agencies literally reading the same script about social media and how it's bad for you and you need to pay attention to the mainstream news because this is where you're gonna get the real news. Come on, dog. Yeah.
The problem is anything you see on the internet could be completely fake. Yeah. I mean, especially with AI stuff now, like you never know. So what I say is you got to go to firsthand experiences, firsthand accounts, and then it's your opinion is evolved from that. And so if you ever truly want to know something, you got to go to a professional or whatever. Not necessarily go sit down and have a conversation, but like there's plenty of journalism and stuff about that. Like nowadays, anything with politics, I mean, you can't believe anything you hear because the left side says one thing, the right says the complete opposite, and and
the truth is buried behind a bunch of mud.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, honestly, I kind of come up with a hybrid between the two.
Yeah. Dude, I don't have I wouldn't say I'm either side. I don't even want to talk about politics. Dude, I don't want to say I don't believe in it anymore. I believe in the United States, believe that we'll figure this shit out someday, hopefully. But I
think we need to stick to the Constitution that was originally wrote because it worked for so long and there was structure for so long, and all of a sudden this 10-year span that we've been talking about, it just everything's gone up in uproar and everybody wants to change everything, and it's like it's working. It's worked.
What do you think?
It's proven to work.
What do you think like caused that change? Like obviously, like there were some things that were outdated, right? We're not going to talk about that. Like there were some ideals that were outdated. That like, all right, people
Cultural
are people.
times.
Yeah. Like, but what do you think caused this shift? This where we're at now. Like, what do you think? Do you think it was money? That's what I think it is.
I think it's the internet.
Yeah, social media.
Completely. I mean, we live in this one-click world, like we've talked about 1,000 times. People can come up with these ideas, and now they're bold enough to post them on the internet and not think anybody sees them, and all of a sudden they get 5 million, 10 million, 15 million views.
Yeah.
And all
It's
of a sudden,
news.
and the problem is that people will see this comment or idea that somebody pulled out of their butt, maybe could be a joke, don't know, have no factual evidence, and put it out there, get 15 million views, and people will see it and treat it as a factual evidence.
And fully believe in it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
It happens every day with people.
I say jokes all the time where people don't even realize I'm joking.
Yeah.
Like, I will straight up say something and it's completely out of my butt, and people will be like, really? No! I'm just joking.
Man, the internet the idea behind it is great. Connect everybody, right? Get everybody connected, get them all talking, get everybody, like it was supposed to be on the same page, like literally on the same page.
The problem is you have to be smarter than the devices that you're using. Mm-hmm. The devices are supposed to help you become smarter.
Well, it's really hard now because those devices are getting so smart. Like,
yeah. But the thing is, you were built in with a humane, logical system where you can control things and do things that other people cannot.
Yeah.
We have created some of these devices, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole with AI and stuff like that. We have to be able to use the devices that we create to better ourselves. Knowledge creates. There's a whole saying with like knowledge, science, and technology.
I want to. I know that we're going to make this a shorter episode, and we're about to wrap it up here soon because we don't want to get too nutty with our audiences, and we're going to get back to our normal program next week when we have our next guest on. I'm excited about, by the way. But there's a saying out there. I can't remember who the guy was that said it, and he said, and I quote, that humans are the sex organ of the machine world.
Yeah.
Do you think like that holds any value or weight? You think about all this AI that we're developing that's literally teaching itself now, that's literally becoming somewhat conscious of how to better itself, how to do this, how to do that. And literally it seems like it can do so many impossible things, or things that might take a human hours upon hours to do in the matter of seconds.
We could potentially be creating another quote unquote alien that
Species.
People are talking about. Yeah.
That's some of the theories out there that the things that are visiting here, things are like, futuristic or versions of ourselves that, lost to AI, and it's going out to search again. I don't know, dude. It's crazy to think about that stuff. It's all crazy. They're all theories. But I want to say one more thing. The conspiracy theory was created by the government, by the way. Like the term conspiracy theory was created by the government to discredit people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You don't hear that every day. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to fact check you later.
Go ahead.
Brian comes up with all these off the walls things that he finds on TikTok, and I'm not saying they don't have any validation.
TikTok. I listen to podcasts like all the time.
Well, yeah, this and that, same thing.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I hear them. I think they're interesting. Do I believe
I don't
a lot of
believe
them?
in every theory I say.
I think they're very interesting.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love to talk about them. I read through a lot of bullcrap with a lot of them, though, too.
Yeah.
And people just are looking for something to explain something. And, like, for instance, this and that. Oh, well, perfect. This conspiracy, it explains it all.
I hate when people, like...
You were talking about cults the other day?
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories are low-key, in a way, certain...
Cults people. Yeah,
Cult,
no,
yeah.
100%. People will devout themselves to that cause.
Yeah.
There's people that are out there that will search for aliens until the day that they die and make sure they have proof somehow. And you're right. It's a cult of people. But a lot of people come together to believe in one thing that somehow, sometimes, blinds their better judgment. And I don't get into, like, oh, this is real, this is real, this is real. There's only one thing that I think could be real, and that's the aliens thing. Could be. Like I said, could be. But like,
No, I think they are.
I mean, it would make sense.
I think they are. I mean, I think it goes back and forth on to what degree.
Yeah.
Do I think necessarily there's like tons and tons of people out there? No. Do I think could there be living beings out in the universe? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, who's there to say that there's not some microorganism on Mars? Like,
That's technically considered alien life.
yeah,
That's
like,
extraterrestrial life.
It's a living thing. I think it's a very selfish
Idea.
idea that we're all alone.
I do too.
And there's stars and there's planets and like there's proven things out there. And for you to believe that we're the only living things on this
Conscious living thing.
Yeah. Universe. I'm not saying conscious. I'm just saying period. Like, you're telling me there's not a ladybug on another planet, like,
Or an ant.
I mean, that is a alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's got to be living things on other planets. And for us, like they say, it's like talking about like Saturn and Jupiter. It's like, oh, it doesn't inhabit life. It doesn't have the opportunity to inhabit life. That is from your concept on Earth
Of what life is.
Yeah. And so how can you say that there's no life on Jupiter or Saturn or whatever these gaseous planets? Because everything that you have ever taught, everything you've ever learned, everything you have a whole conscience of is from one planet.
Yeah. And there could be like, you never know, dude. There could be like microorganisms living in the gases of Jupiter. We haven't been there. We wouldn't be able to test out the gases.
Exactly.
And that's considered an alien life.
It's
You
all
are so
perspective.
right, though. You're so right. Like, if you think we are the only planet that harbors some form of type of life, from microbiological beings to advanced mammals like ourselves, like, you are nuts. You are crazy. They found, I can't believe, I think it's like 40-something planets now that are in the Goldilocks zone, which is considered like not too hot for any life, but not too cold for any life either. But like here, like, that can sustain it. But like, you never know. There might be a frozen mole rat on Pluto or something. Yeah. Like, you never know.
If there are animals at the depths of the ocean that can withstand pressures and those temperatures, you're telling me you can't withstand gases? There's animals or things that can't withstand gases or the extreme colds of Mars and the extreme temperatures of Mars. Like,
yeah, everything adapts, dude. We adapt to how hot it was today by pouring water on our face and
it was,
getting in the studio, getting over our tiredness. But like, it's crazy, man. People just blow my mind. There's like, there's nothing else out there.
It's okay. It's fun to talk about. Honestly, I don't think it's something that I necessarily will have to worry about in my lifetime.
You don't think so?
I personally don't. I think it's out there. If it happens, it happens.
What do you think the world would do? Like, if ET was like an actual thing? You think like people would actually give a shit? I mean, literally the U.S. government says it is a thing and nothing changed. But like, you think
how is it going to affect my day-to-day life?
Yeah.
If you genuinely think about it, okay, yep, there's people on Mars. Okay, awesome. We have enemies as in America and Russia.
Yeah.
We have enemies in China. We have enemies all over the world. Afghanistan, Iraq. They don't like us. Like, and we're still here, and I still get up and I go to work. I drink my coffee. I eat my, like,
I get that.
Think about it, honestly.
I know, I do get that perspective. I get that perspective. I think it's funny how like Futurama. You ever seen that show? The Futurama on like Comedy Central.
Yeah, it's been a long time though.
But like, that could be something one day. Would that be hilarious? There's all kinds of different species of intelligent life walking around this planet. We're just going planet to planet. Doing business.
They actually did just approve the first concept of flying cars.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Like USDA. I think was it USDA or no, it's DOT, Department of Transportation. They did actually just approve it. So who knows? Tesla might be whipping out a
Elon's already working on it. Yeah. Elon's already got his best guy on it.
Model Z or whatever the hell it is. I don't know.
Well, on this week's episode of the Roll One Podcast, aliens are real. Conspiracy theories were fun to talk about. And I think that's about it.
Yep. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TV, whatever.
Yeah.
Not YouTube TV, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. All our social medias, y'all have seen it, y'all have heard it. It's in the description box. Like, follow, help us in algorithms, all that other good stuff. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode.
I also want to say thank you, by the way, to our YouTube people. We've actually just surpassed 50,000 views on all of our stuff, shorts and videos included. We just surpassed 50,000 views in just under our year of our first ever release. So thank you to all the people that, double click, like, comment on YouTube. You're helping us kill it. I mean, 50K, doing
awesome.
something, moving some weight.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace. That was so much fun.